Okay, I'm ready. Becoming.
Trials and errors make us strong if we learn how to just move on and not give in. When we fall, falling down and getting up, when we will not be stuck in the places where we fall. We must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials we will see. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We've got to keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. We'll keep becoming. Oh, yeah. When we fall down, we must get up. We cannot get stuck in a rut, for then we'll see it's really not that bad. Many times we find ourselves caught up in all kinds of mess, and that's the plan that we'll give up. Oh, but we must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials we will see. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We've got to keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We gotta keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. We'll keep becoming, oh, becoming. We'll keep becoming, oh, becoming. To be, not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. Said I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. Said I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. We must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials. We will see. We will see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials. We will see. We will see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials. We will see. We'll keep becoming. Yes, you and me will be becoming. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Soul Situations Room for Saturday, December 12th, 2020. I am your host, the Reverend Shonda Nicole Gladden, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you who choose to hold space with us here in this digital space. You are welcome if you are joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, through my social media platform, or through Good to the Soul. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a supporter. Thank you for being a follower. Thank you for being someone who comes to be a part of this community that we co-curate here in the Soul Situations Room. Please make sure you drop down in the chat. Let us know where you are joining from. Give greetings. We want to make sure that this is a collaborative space. It works best when you put in your requests, and that means giving up your questions, letting us know how the conversation is hitting your ear, continuing to give us a temperature check by dropping your comments in the various platforms where you are following us. If this is your first time joining with us here in the Soul Situations Room, I am the Reverend Shonda Nicole Gladden. I'm the CEO of Good to the Soul. We have a few folks backstage hanging out with us. A few of them are soul stirrers that are part of our social enterprise. If you've never heard about Good to the Soul, of course, I invite you and I encourage you to check us out at www.goodtothesoul.com. There you can find out all of the information about how it is that we energize individuals and institutions to flourish. So that's enough of a bit of a commercial, at least for that part of the commercial. Hopefully you have already taken a look and you have seen what we had in front of you, which was this notion of, hey, we are doing some things together that from here on out, from today through the rest of the month, today we are at our 20 days until 2021. So 20 days, I read something that one can develop and curate a habit if one does something over the course of 21 days consistently. So as we have been journeying towards the end of 2020 and trying to end it well, the Holy Spirit dropped into my spirit, because I am a preacher, associate pastor at Crossroads AME Church. Shout out to the people who may be joining us from Crossroads. But the Holy Spirit dropped in my spirit that marking time will help us to ensure that we enter into 2021 with intention. So we began with 50 days until 2021 with Reverend Dr. Jamie Edie, the death doula, who's a loss navigation specialist, who helped us to have a conversation about how to grieve well. Then when we were 40 days until 2021, the Holy Spirit dropped in my spirit a sermon and said, "What do you want?" Where I hope you were able to catch that. 30 days, we were joined by the Reverend Jerry E. Davis III, the senior pastor of Crossroads AME Church, as I just shared. And tonight, you will be hearing from Camishe Nunley, licensed mental health counselor of Healing Your Hidden Hurts, who will help us to have a conversation about what does it look like to journey from now until 2021 with intention. And then 10 days until 2021, we'll be joined by Dr. Oshan Gadsden, who is a professor of psychology at Norfolk State University, and a very special treat, Pastor Greg Stamper of the Celebrations Church will be joining with us on that night. Now, I have a special treat for you, though. For the last 5 nights of the year at 8:15, we're going to hit you with a good conversation with 5 very special people that I'll bring up and talk about when we get closer to it. So you don't want to miss it. If you've not already signed up to be part of the backstage for those final 5, go ahead and do so. But even if you don't sign up, make sure you meet us right here, wherever you're joining from, at 8:15 p.m. on the last 5 days of the year. So that really is enough of a commercial. I, again, am just so grateful that you are choosing to spend a portion of your evening with us tonight. And I am clear that it is likely because you heard that someone special was coming into the room with us. That's right. Camishe Nunley is a licensed mental health counselor, a certified trauma specialist, and the owner of Healing Your Hidden Hurts Counseling Agency. She has dedicated her life's work to healing the hurts and the hearts, rather, and the minds of trauma survivors worldwide. Camishe takes on many roles outside of the traditional counseling setting, which includes traveling to speak on various mental health related topics in an effort to destigmatize mental illness in the community. Her specialty includes integrating theological principles with psychological practices. Woo! After hearing that, I hope you are ready for this conversation. Go ahead and share the stream. Let somebody know the conversation is getting ready to happen. But in the meantime, go ahead and clap it up, throw some comments of excitement into the chat space, and let's welcome to the Soul Situations Room, Mrs. Camishe Nunley. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
So I'm just so grateful that you said yes. From the moment that I met you, I was just so taken away with how rich a resource you are for the community, especially here in Indianapolis. So tell the people a little bit about yourself from your own words. I read the bio, but it's best from your mouth. Let's hear about you.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on and thinking of me to be included in such rich conversation. So I really appreciate it. A little bit about me. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, as you said. That is my trade. However, most importantly, I am a mother of 3, full-time mom, and a wife of an incredibly encouraging and supportive husband. And my journey in life is fairly simple. I just look to hear stories enough to understand where people feel like they are hurting, to help them overcome any levels of hurt or hidden hurts that they have so that they can live out their true potential in life.
Amen. And that resonates right with where we sit in the space in the marketplace for good to the soul, true purpose in life. You know, we talk about the spirit of universal liberation as being how we try to live out our work here with good to the soul. That finding one's purpose, discerning it, and just hitting it hard, to be intentional, to make sure we're saying, God, I heard you. Thank you for giving me life. And now I want to live into that thing that you are calling me to do in an intentional way. But sometimes, you know, as a child of who was reared by the community, I have great parents. My mom is probably in the audience. My dad is here probably in the kitchen somewhere. You might hear in the background, and he even has a landline. So if his phone rings, y'all just go and forgive us. But I have great parents. But even having great parents, not every family situation has the full capacity of being great without trauma. That I know that I have, well, my therapist and we have landed on a space that I have lived through some traumatic events that hadn't just necessarily come from my childhood, but trauma has been a part of my own narrative. So talk to the people about what it means to be trauma informed as individuals and what you do to help people. What even is trauma?
Absolutely. Trauma is clinically defined as an incident or a situation that happens that poses a threat to your sense of self or your being, or, you know, a threatened, you know, perception of life in terms of if it's dramatic enough or tragic enough that it could actually take your life. So it's just individual incidences that occur that threaten your way of understanding life and what's going on. And so what I do a lot of times is I help people unearth what's called subtle traumas that could have been experienced over a lifetime or during a season in their life, to help them give language to it, to be able to understand it from both a clinical perspective, but also from the perspective of not feeling as if it has control over you, but vice versa. And then helping them to, because a lot of times people who go through traumatic incidences, the idea surrounding it is not to want to relive it, so we avoid it at all costs. But I help them journey through the pain so that they can start to overcome the pain and heal internally.
So when you say journey through, that sounds like what does journeying through trauma feel like and look like? Is it the same for everybody, or should I feel ashamed that I have to journey through trauma?
You know, that idea really does scare a lot of people, to think that maybe perhaps you have to relive the experience. But oftentimes as clinicians, as we know, you are re-experiencing trauma if you've not dealt with it or healed it on any level, anyways, in your everyday lives, by things that you're continuously triggered by, subconsciously and sometimes consciously, with regards to the trauma-related incident, as well as constant thoughts or negative thoughts that enter into your mind about any one thing. And so our way of looking at it is, we want to give you a way to experience the trauma safely versus experiencing it involuntarily. So that way you can experience it in a manner that is very healing to the soul, instead of constantly being triggered by individual incidences outside of the therapy session.
So this, these are lots of big words. Don't know. I know we got a bunch of degrees here, but maybe somebody's watching. When you say intentionally walking through it, as opposed to being triggered, what might trigger one to trauma?
Anything can trigger trauma if it's not been dealt with. The mind might forget, but the body recalls. And so even when you attempt to suppress or oppress or avoid the aftermath of a trauma, anything can bring it out. What I'm saying to you right now, and your associations to my words, can bring about a lasting effect of trauma if it hasn't been dealt with, especially if you were traumatized by someone who looks like me, talks like me, uses my same vernacular. You can be watching TV and be hit with a immediate thought or reminder about the trauma because of maybe what you're seeing in front of you. People, smells can trigger trauma. And so anything really can trigger the trauma based on the type of trauma that you've had in your life. And so we just want to give you a space to safely go through the pain versus trying to go over it or under it. And every time I talk to my clients about this, I use the Dora reference. I don't know how many people have children, but Dora used to oftentimes sing this song: you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you have to go through it. And it's very much the same because, we live a life where we really try to avoid it because of the fear that comes with the experience of it. But what we've learned, or what I've learned, is, a lot of times until you give yourself a safe place to actually experience it, giving an accurate definition, accurate understanding, then it makes it very hard to be able to heal from it. You can't heal necessarily what you won't reveal.
So wait a minute. That sounds tweetable. That sounds postable. You said you can't heal what you won't reveal.
Yes. Not my term, but very commonly used in this work. If you're not going to bring light to the dark situation, it's going to continue to be dark.
Now, so I struggle with that light and dark dichotomy because, I'm Black and I'm proud. Yeah. And so when we talk about darkness, I don't want to associate the negative things that I go through with darkness. But so when you say you can't bring light to darkness, can you talk about?
In this context, darkness mostly refers to those things that are mostly unknown, those things that are mostly hidden, those things that make us afraid, not in the context of the melanin of a skin. These are definitely things that are hidden, and they allow for us to function within this perception of reality that is not always healthy. And so, as you know, what we perceive, we believe. And so if we have not healed those quote unquote dark areas of our lives, then we will continue to recycle painful experiences over and over again. And so we have to be willing to shed light, which simply in this context means to talk about and to talk through any one thing, to be able to reveal it and openly work through it.
Now, our show is on multiple social media platforms. Like we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. We're not yet on Instagram in terms of a show. But when you say talk about it, where are the spaces where I should be talking about my triggers?
Yes. You know, the way that social media is set up and the algorithms built within, we have seen study after study confirm that as a result of those algorithms, it can actually indirectly elevate symptoms. And so I think social media is great to garner information, to reconnect. But when we start to use it to vent our frustrations or vent our hurts, it might not be the best place to do so unless you're, doing what we're doing today, which is talking about, ways to rectify trauma or work through trauma. The best way to work through it is definitely with a mental health counselor, mentor, a pastoral care clergy person, to be able to navigate the idiosyncrasies that come along with what trauma provides. Did I answer your question?
You answered my question, but then you gave me a whole other question.
Sorry.
You said the idiosyncrasies of what trauma provides.
Yes.
Now, help us.
So trauma comes with a lot of aftermath. It comes with a lot of residual effects. And some of those things include, fear, quite naturally, anxiety built into that. Some of those things are, I imagine, like just being shaken up in terms of your identity and who you are and how you situate yourself, how you interpret and experience relationships. And so trauma really does come and it creates a paralyzed state of sorts. And during that paralyzation, you can go through a number of different residual symptoms as a result.
Hearing you say this is reminding me that there have been moments in life where a kind of paralysis has overtaken me after experiencing a kind of traumatic event. We have a guest, one of my dear friends, Reverend Samuel Green, asked the question, how does one find themselves back to reality? That's not a result of their pretending. Doesn't one believe their masked reality after so long?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we are very much conditioned to interpret the world a certain way. And when we grow up, I oftentimes talk about how a lot of pathology is born as a result of inaccurate definition, inability to communicate effectively, and difficulty dealing with disappointment. And so when we grow up under a milieu of defining a thing one way, so like defining yourself one way or defining love one way, it's rooted in how we learned about what love is, how love is displayed. And so we start to recycle that experience and that definition over and over through our interactions with others and our interaction with the world on a daily basis. And so if no one calls us out of a thing, we kind of continue in that cycle, oftentimes unaware that we are in it. And so it really does take someone to say, hey, have you considered thinking of it this way? Or, hey, here's God's love. Let me model it for you so that I can show you the all-encompassing nature of it versus the conditional way that we've kind of learned to believe about it. And then definition can be corrected, right? And therefore change and healing occurs.
Now, Ms. Camishe, you have really just shaking me to my core and just a hot moment here, because this notion of accountability, it sometimes sounds like a bad word in community. It's like, I don't always want my friends to tell me about myself. And actually, if sometimes, if I am still traumatized and triggered, I can see my friends calling me out on my stuff as another trigger and as even more trauma. So as a friend who wants to be a friend, I'm hearing friends don't let friends be traumatized or friends don't let friends be triggered without being there to kind of support. What are the roles of friendship in dealing with trauma and dealing with our hurts? And when is it too much for friends to have to deal with? Do you hear what I'm asking?
I think I do. I think what I'm hearing you say is, when is it okay to intervene? When is it okay to allow for people to come in and support us? And when is it okay to just kind of back off and let you fly, so to speak? And so what I believe is that iron sharpens iron. And so, it's really all in how we present a thing to someone. If the attitude is, you're wrong, you're bad, I can't believe you did this, very shameful or shame-based responses, that's very counterproductive to anyone's journey towards healing for friends. And so it can make you feel very unsafe in the friendship and as if you can't share vulnerabilities. And that's the opposite of what we want, right? So, but if you present it as, God corrects those he loves, so should we as friends be willing to correct those that we love, not from a shame-based, guilt-based place, but a faith-based place that says, hey, I love you enough to say, here's what I'm noticing going wrong. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to hear you out. I want to know your journey. I want to understand. I'm not going to put my subjective experiences onto you and make it mean those things, but I'm just going to stand by and be an active listener so that you know that you have my ear, and whatever I can offer, I will, but also, here's my friend, the therapist over here, you might want to go talk to, just to get it fleshed out.
I'm not going to project my stuff on you while I'm helping you deal with the healing if I'm going to be a real friend.
Yes.
Like, go ahead.
Hear all the time where a lot of times with women, friends, because of one bad experience in their lives, they'll project things like all men are bad or all men cheat or all these negative messages. And so when you're talking to them, they'll give you these empty platitudes or ways of responding. And you're just like, well, that's kind of not what I was, going for. But, so it's much better to sit back and get an understanding of the person's experience. I become all things to those so that I might win some. So if I can become an active listener in your life so that I can hear you through and hear out your story, then I can make an informed decision on how I want to respond. And if that situation is like my experience or if it's different. Does that make sense?
Ma'am, it makes sense. And it's probably making you dollars because you are on the money tonight. Nothing you have said has been outside of the scope of what has been helpful thus far. And judging by the comments and the people who are affirming that this is right on it, and they said, and the word of God, God bless you. But that's what, good to the soul. Now, we're not bringing folks on here that don't know something about trust and belief because we curate a space where the spirit flows. And so the folks who come through here got to be able to stay in the spirit and be in the spirit. Now, woosah. I had to breathe in on that moment because you brought the spirit into the room, not the spirit one here, but you certainly brought the spirit here that reminded us that friendship is so important in being whole and healthy, and being able to be vulnerable in friendships is so important. And I am curious though, because we have social media, we have this space where people are calling everyone friends. how can we know that we have friends? How can we know that we are being friends when we have this culture of friendship in name and in performativity? But when it comes to when I'm at home by myself and I have just literally pulled myself up out the floor because my heart is broken, or the bottom has dropped out of my finances, or my family member has died of COVID, or I'm wrestling. What does friendship look like then? Can you help us out, Camishe?
Well, it really is your own understanding of friendship and the way that you receive friendship that matters most. But oftentimes, it reminds me of the conversations I have with my children about, 4 quarters are better than 100 pennies. And even though your teacher says, hey, your friend here, and hey, your friend here, they use the term friend very loosely just to cultivate an environment of nurturance and non-combativeness. But not everybody is meant to be your friend. Not everybody is meant to be with you in every season of your life. And so I help them truly understand that there's value in 2 or 3 people who are willing to kind of stick by your side, work with you, and work through the situations that you go through. Not that they will be there for everything for you, because sometimes friends don't know how to be. And we give them that space to make error as long as they're willing to kind of correct it and make efforts towards the opposite. But a friend is typically someone that is close enough to you where you know that if you were stranded at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a blizzard and they were saying, do not go out on these roads, you would have to literally talk her down from coming out there to kind of help pick you up and bring you in. And so I remember when I was listening to a sermon by T.D. Jakes, and he talks about the 3 types of friends, and I can't remember them exactly, but he said there's comrades, there's constituents, and then there's, I forget the third one, but he basically said the comrades are the people that are closest to you, and not the people that are with you because of certain things, because they don't like certain things. And so they're with you because you don't like that thing. But once that thing goes away, they kind of disperse, or they're not with you because you're on the trend. And then when you're no longer on the trend, they disperse. And so it's that person that is willing to hear you out, is willing to not judge, doesn't put themselves in direct competition with you, and people that are just willing to openly accept you for who you are, instead of making you fit in with who they think you should be. I said a lot, but that makes sense.
You did, but it all warmed my heart in such a powerful way that, true friends allow you to be yourself.
Yes.
I'm looking at the comments and I see people who are attending tonight, and I can say some of my truest friends are in the room with us tonight. So I see you all. Know that I'm sending up hugs and hearts and love to each and every one of you. If you're on the social media, just begin to think about, drop the names, invite your true friends to be part of the stream. Feel free to invite those that you wish would be better friends so that they can get convicted. No, now. We're not talking about shaming people. But however, so I want us to pivot just a little bit, because we had a question that came through a little bit earlier. And this looks like she says, I'm a pastor. What is the right question to pose to help someone realize that help is needed and that healing is needed? And so this was when we were talking about trauma. And so what kinds of questions do pastors have? Do you even have resources for pastors?
So the answer to the latter is yes. A majority of my clientele I work with are pastors and leadership in church. And I'm currently working on a book, but we'll get to that later on. So the types of questions that I think need to be asked, definitely you want to cultivate a level of safety when you are asking certain questions, because sometimes when people are unaware that they are in need of help, they will hear attack in anything. And so we have to be careful that we're not using shame-based language. We have to be careful that we're not accusatory in the way that we ask our questions. But hey, pastor to parishioner or whomever, I was wondering, how you feel things are going in your life, and make it very focused on them and their experience, and help, a lot of what I do is help people arrive at the answer versus providing the answer for them. So I never go to anyone and say, it sounds like you need help, but I'll ask you, what was your experience of that? Was that, healthy for you? Did you enjoy that experience? What do you think about, going through something like that again? Would you do it differently? Are you struggling to be able to make a different choice? And if you're struggling, what level or what degree will you allow someone to help you? Because I'm very concerned for you.
That sounds like probably good guidance for anyone, whether one is a pastor or not, right? That even a good friend or even a family member, if we notice something, what we talk about in Good to the Soul is we say that we have to notice the thing, then name the thing so that we can nurture what we desire to see in the thing. That's what people who care about other people do.
Absolutely.
So the friends who are gathering in the chat space, the people who are throwing in comments, they really, really, really just love the conversation that you are providing for us tonight. And we have some guests backstage, and so I haven't heard from them to hear from them if they want to come on screen or not. But this is me giving you ample warning. If you do want to come on stage and you have been given backstage access, make sure that you are ready to have your face on the screen, because the people will see you, and that you have your microphone connected and things of that nature. If you want to be on stage, this is your warning for our backstage guests who may want to be brought out. But every time I have a guest on, I have a very specific question that I ask that is related to what we do with Good to the Soul, and that is about flourishing. How do you define flourishing?
That's a great question. I think in clinical psychology, it's a term that's often used in positive psychology theory. It's been coined to mean that majority of the time we want to have positive emotions, we want to have positive psychological states, or even positive social interactions. I don't necessarily align myself with that theory of thought. I believe flourishing in the context of the things that I do is someone who is in a constant state of awareness, someone who is always recovering instead of feeling like they've recovered, someone who is at any point willing to eradicate the voice of fear in their life, and someone who is willing to surrender control in a way where they can allow our Father to come in and do the work that needs to be done within them. So to me, that is what flourishing means. So in essence, I guess really for me, flourishing comes down to our degrees of transparency, because that's what heals. That's what allows us to thrive. Did that make sense?
It made a lot of sense. And I pause because I am soaking in the wisdom that you are spilling into the room. This is what the Soul Situations is all about, because this conversation is definitely touching my soul. I see again from the comments in the room that people are in agreement that this is also touching them. And they really love being able to ask you questions. And this notion of eradicating the voice of fear is what flourishing is all about. Now, that's not easy though, right? And they're nodding no backstage as well. And
no, easy is not the term that I would use for eradicating the voice of fear in our lives.
Especially like now though, right? As we are 20 days before the end of the year and 13 days before a major Christian holiday. And our Jewish siblings are currently in Hanukkah. And they probably are not watching right now because they've probably done a social media fast. So shout out to our Jewish brothers and sisters who may watch the replay. But this is holiday season, but it doesn't always radiate the sound and the feeling of joy for all of us. Can we shift a little bit and talk about what if I'm feeling fear in this holiday season? What if I'm feeling overwhelmed because of the pandemic effect? Um, you know, the weather, the temperature just seems to be shifting. One day it's hot, one day it's really cold. There's all of these seasons that are converging upon us. And so I don't feel balanced. Can you talk about what all of what might be happening 20 days before the end of the year might look like, as it's uncharacteristically warm in many parts of the country?
Yes, I think, this day and age, or the things that are happening before us today, is something that we just have not experienced in our lifetimes. And so to come in with the expectation that we will have a clear line of sight or a clear path of what to do for the last 20 days is not always fair to yourself, just because we are in such uncertain times. I mean, we're living in a time where finally mental health is being given a voice, but it's being given a voice under the guise of so many tragic stories. And we are hurting, we are grieving, we are afraid, we are, as in many cases with pandemics, hypervigilant. Everything in and around us is a perceived threat of some sorts. Those very things that cause trauma is happening in this day. So to think that we will have a clear line of vision of what to do for this next 20 days wouldn't be very realistic with yourself. But what I can say is that if we allow ourselves to sit back for a moment and to take in not just the tragic stories or the things that are going on within the government or the racial injustices that continue to occur, but if we allow ourselves to detach from that for a moment and we take in what is important for us and what we've gained out of this season, then we can start to navigate the trajectory of the next 20 days for ourselves and the things that are important for us. And so for me in particular, it is important that beginning mid-October, I start to go into preparation mode. And in this preparation mode, it's a little unorthodox in the fact that I'm a big proponent of Sabbath rest. And so I start to, lay down what I call weapons of mass destruction, which is, just taking in all of the hard stories that I've had to take in throughout the year, taking in all of those hard things and being willing to purge those things. And I purge them by, increasing or just kind of letting myself recover by doing things like eating clean, eating healthily, setting appropriate boundaries, working out, increasing my family time, journaling. All those things go into being able to navigate these, next 20 days so that by December, I can go into what I call consecration mode, where I take 2-3 weeks off from work and I just allow myself to be prostrated before the Lord and so that the Lord can prep me for what's to come in the next year. And so it's definitely a time where I keep a daily prayer journal, and I look over my prayer journal for the year and figure out, what prayers have been answered, what haven't, what things, God has allowed me to do, even though it wasn't in his in his line of sight, and how those things helped or hurt. I increase my devotions, and I just value the things that are in and around me. I truly try to live out the Philippians 4:8 scripture, where I just think on those things and I allow him to fill me up in whatever ways needed for that. Did that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Everything I've asked, you are, again, as I said, on the money. What I heard you say, though, that I just find to be very rich and it resonates with me, is consecration for a season, or rather, no, you said preparation for a season, and then consecration, and I'm kind of paraphrasing you, and then preparation for a reason. That we consecrate for, you start in October to December, but then in December, you're preparing. There's preparation for a reason. That the reason is to get closer to God and to get clear about what should be happening in the next iteration of whatever it is that we are entering into. And I'm so grateful, and so many others had that was resonating with them. Thank you for allowing us the space to be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah.
That if we don't have a plan, we don't have a strategy of what we're doing these 20 days, it's okay.
It's okay to not be okay in this season of things. It is.
Well, I'm seeing some thumbs up backstage. So, backstage guests, are you ready to come out and hang out with us? Let me see. Make sure you unmute yourself and turn us down. Hi, Miss Robin Nichols.
Good afternoon or evening, whatever time
Yeah,
frame
tell
you
the
are.
people who you are.
I am Robin Nichols.
Yeah, tell the people who you are.
And I am from Crossroads AME, and I am proud to be a wife, mother, grandmother, and I've been the pleasure of being a daughter. I still consider my parents with me, even though they're not. And matter of fact, this is the season in which Mark's mother made her transition. So it's a very holy season to us as a family. So you were talking about how you go into this mode of preparation beginning in October. Well, that resonated in that you always feel it coming on, that you're getting ready to enter into this holy season, whether it is one going home to be with the Lord, or a birthday, special occasions, holidays, those types of things that were near and dear to you. And so I loved the fact that you really said, it's okay. Be gentle with yourself, because I felt guilty, because I wanted to insulate myself, because I wanted no one to understand me and what I was feeling, and I wanted to project everything was fine, and psychologically I got it together, and I'm going to keep all the traditions alive, and it was just a hogwash. I was a hot mess. And so I thank you for really laying out journaling, showing that it's good to write down your thoughts. I have written thoughts down. I go back and I see where God's brought me from. Where I am today is not where I was yesterday. And I thank Him. I praise Him. I adore Him. And another thing you said was, sometimes you have friends for a season. And I loved that, because that has been really resonating in my life. And particularly this year, it's like God keeps putting exclamations behind that, because some friends have moved off the scene, and God has given me richness in new friendships, because they're here now to feed my spiritual side in a way that was not being fed before. The others were more takers than givers. And so to have someone feed your soul, feed your spirit, and you have friends where you can bounce scriptures off of each other and insights, it's just so invigorating and victorious in overcoming whatever it is in life. And quick story, when you were talking about tragedy and triggers, I was assaulted years ago, right 2 weeks before my mom died. And if my husband so much as walked up behind me in the kitchen, I would nearly jump out of my skin. And so he would start to announce, I'm coming in the room, because you never knew what was going to be in my hand at the moment. And so that, I'm saying that to say, I didn't think I needed to get help. It took my daughter sitting me down and looking with love in her eyes and saying, Mom, you need help. You're not getting through it. You're trying to will your way through it. God wants you to know someone else can help you get through it. And I love her for having the courage, the insight, the foundation in God to say, it's okay, Mom, that you're not okay. You don't have to be perfect. You can show your vulnerability. You can say, I'm a hot mess, and still be loved. And so I just encourage anyone who's gone through whatever trauma, whether it's loss of a loved one, personal hurt, whatever it is, it's okay to say, I'm not okay. And to have a loved one, a friend who truly is your friend, to encourage you to seek help. Because we would seek a doctor. Why we have such walls up about seeking therapy, I do not know. But it's the best thing that can ever happen. And I'm not there yet. I might still be coming to see you, but I'm not there yet. But I can tell you, my mother always said, God hath not given me the spirit of fear, but of strength and power and of a sound mind. My mind cannot be sound if I don't seek God's power.
Miss Robin, now you have to turn this down some, but Miss Robin, you hit it right on the head. I'm so glad you were backstage with us tonight. That so many people are saying you are so brave. Thank you for sharing with us and being brave. But Miss Robin, before we invite you backstage again, you said what everyone needed to hear. I may not be all the way together. I may still be coming to see you. Now, if Good to the Soul does nothing else in the marketplace, we, along with Healing Your Hidden Hurts and all of the healthcare providers, we want to destigmatize therapy, mental health. We may not all always be all together. In our family home, we said, we have a saying on the wall, I may not have it all together, but together we have it all.
Amen. That's beautiful.
Create, whether it's by blood or by choice, safe spaces where you can be your whole, full, authentic self. Because this world is hard enough trying to do it and to be it by ourselves. Miss Robin, the people are saying, I feel a release because of what you shared. It is okay to not be okay. Friends, let's take a collective breath in and collectively release. Because we've shared some heaviness, we've shared some brave and courageous stories, and it is almost time for us to bid each other adieu. But I don't want people to leave the space triggered in a way that we have not taken the time to breathe. Miss Robin, thanks so much for coming out with us on stage. We'll see you next time. If you've joined with us and you'd ever like to be backstage and then perhaps even on stage to ask your question directly, make sure you sign up. The link will be provided there for you momentarily. But as we are preparing to close, we want to make sure that we hear, how do we ask for help? How do we get to, if we can get to you? I know people are doing telehealth and teletherapy. How can we get help if we need it?
Absolutely. And I think that the best way to go about it is to research, one, what you want in a therapist, what you think that a therapist, a type of therapist that you would feel safe with. So if you Google that, it'll come with all types of questions that you can ask as you're searching through a Rolodex of different therapists. And then also, you can go to your place of employment and seek out different names. Definitely pastors have different names of individuals that they trust. And for me in particular, you can reach out to healingyourhiddenhurts.com, or you can give us a call at 833-349-1116. And, we even have a spiritual mental health coach on staff with us. So if counseling is something that you feel like you're not fully ready for, and you want to try the coaching process, by all means, she's a wonderful intercessor and she does some great work. So I would encourage you guys to definitely reach out and be willing to stick up for yourself and sojourn the healing process.
So you said healingyourhiddenhurts.com.
Yes.
Now, and you said a phone number. I'm not going to put that out on the internet,
Okay.
but I'm sure if people go to healingyourhiddenhurts.com, they will have an opportunity to connect with you there.
Yes.
Are you able to make geographic kind of referrals if people are not in Indianapolis?
We are. Our administrative assistant is really good about, pulling up different resources, or even pointing you in the direction of maybe your insurance company who has like a whole list of individuals that they usually refer out to. So absolutely.
And I know we're close on time, but I also know you have a resource for pastors.
Yes.
Although my schedule has not yet made it. So to be part of the First Shepherds.
We're going to get you.
But can you give us a 60-second overview of what First Shepherds is?
So First Shepherds was born out of a place where we start to see a lot of our pastors and our leadership in the church suffer with a lot of mental health ailments, and the suicidality rate spiked quite significantly. And so we wanted to reach out to our pastors as a way of letting them know that we're here and that we can help. And so it's become an avenue for pastors to be able to talk about ministry challenges as well as personal challenges in their lives. First Shepherds is a support group, pastors of peers who are sworn to secrecy or confidentiality, and in fact have to sign a contract for such, where we just kind of come together and we let our hair down and we just talk through things and discover different ways of dealing with the different challenges in our life. And we also talk about different triumphs that we experience. So it's a great tool for pastors and leadership in the church to come and get some level of relief. And then after the 8-week support group, you then have met the prerequisite for going through the 12-week self-paced course, which after completing, you become an advocate for mental health so that you can reach out to other pastors and bring them along and hold your own groups and things like that. So that's who we are. And our website is healinghiddenhurtsministries.org.
Wait, now healinghiddenhurtsministries.org, because you told what's on the screen is different than that. So is that not right on the screen?
Try them both.
Okay.
I think it's Healing Hidden Hurts Ministries, but it might be Healing Hurt.
If you don't find it.
We try to truncate the name a little bit, but it's one of them.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. You have been a breath of fresh air, and I really, really am grateful to you. We will see you in Indianapolis, if not before then. Take care and God bless. As we Friends, I hope you've had a great time tonight. We have bumped up on running out of time. And so I want to remind you that if you do not know, we have December 22nd will come up on our conversation with Shonda Gadsden and Pastor Greg Stamper. But all of the details will be before you in just a moment. I want to say thank you. Stick around, watch the closing video, see the last slide that has information about what's on deck. But until next time, take care of yourself and keep doing all of those things that are good to the soul. I love you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Be blessed.
Okay, I'm ready. Becoming.
Trials and errors make us strong if we learn how to just move on and not give in. When we fall, falling down and getting up, when we will not be stuck in the places where we fall. We must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials we will see. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We've got to keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. We'll keep becoming. Oh, yeah. When we fall down, we must get up. We cannot get stuck in a rut, for then we'll see it's really not that bad. Many times we find ourselves caught up in all kinds of mess, and that's the plan that we'll give up. Oh, but we must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials we will see. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We've got to keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. Becoming who we'll be, it's not that hard if we can see. We gotta keep growing and not get stuck. Becoming you and me, we will become who we will be if we just hold on and not give up. We'll keep becoming, oh, becoming. We'll keep becoming, oh, becoming. To be, not quite what I will be becoming. I'll keep becoming. Said I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be becoming. I'll keep becoming. I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be becoming. I'll keep becoming. Said I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be becoming. I'll keep becoming. I'm not what I used to be. Not what I used to be. Not quite what I will be becoming. I'll keep becoming. Not what I used to be, not quite what I will be. Becoming, I'll keep becoming. We must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials. We will see. We will see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials. We will see. We must see that there's so much to be. Keep on living through the trials. We will see. We'll keep becoming. Yes, you and me will be